have with us Peter B, who's a DJ and producer from Sweden.
I mean, it was back in '96, I think, of course, when I started to DJ. It was just like the classical for Sweden, I don't know in India, but kind of school parties that you have.
Right.
And they make some money for your class.
So you started DJ when you were 13 years old?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So from the first time I like made money off DJ and kind of had that as like, not being a money grabber, but still like keeping it at a professional level. If you demand something in return, people treat you hopefully with respect as well. I started to hear like Kari Lekebusch, which is also a Swedish person that I nowadays have the fortune to call him a friend and a colleague. That I heard that was playing like something that was called techno, and it was just those drums and all those beats and just rhythms for like hours and hours and hours, and I was like, I found home. This is what I've been looking for. I've been like shopping off this 1 minute stuff and trying to make music from that, and that has actually a name, and it's techno. So I think that was kind of the starting point when I found that this is where I'm home. And then you have opened the cradle of different genres of techno, etc., etc. And I've been going from up tempo to down tempo to deep to trippy to, I mean, but in the same box kind of way.
Right.
Yeah, I think I started production actually around 97.
Oh, 97.
But that was like in Fast Tracker. I don't know if you heard of that software. It was like everything was running like this, like Amiga style.
Right.
And you had to type in, if you want to do like a fade with volume, you had to type like 1, next level 2, next level 3.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Okay. And I was like 14, I had no manual or anything, so it was just like brute forcing by pure interest, like learning how to do this stuff. And you found samples. I had no synthesizer, it was only samples back then.
Okay.
So I made like tracks which are, of course, by today's standards ridiculous, but that was kind of the first thing. I just discovering that, oh, you put the clap on the 2.
Yeah.
It's like that, you get that oh, okay, and it's like you don't put the clap on the 1, you put it on the 2, and it's like all those kind of very basic
the foundations.
Yeah,
right.
I actually kind of discovered myself, kind of, and me and my cousin from the beginning there, we kind of went back and forth, and we, just listened to stuff and just tried to mimic it in our best way. It's kind of based around my analog desk. I have an old Alan Heath desk. Not by preference per se, it's more like it was cheap enough and it's enough channels, and I can have all of them are like direct output. So when I like the kind of setup I have for like the bass line, the kick and the hi-hats, for example, on different faders, I can just press record in my computer and get all channels separate. I don't need to bounce a stereo track. Sometimes being hated by the mastering studios because they ask for, could you send this with headroom? It's like, no. Because it went through my desk and then off to a mono, and then I don't want to tell you what I did, but it's like and all I need you to do is like just listen to it in big speakers and see if you should like shift the energy a little bit or remove some like resonant that I can't hear. Yeah, so it's like you should not touch it that much. I mean, of course, sometimes I've done like the proper way, leaving 12 dB headroom and send it to mastering, like for your remix. That was kind of more a subtle thing. But I mean, sometimes it's just like I kind of go down this route sound sculpturing wise that I kind of locked myself into. I did a limiting 5 steps earlier. Right. And I played that out maybe for a month. Yeah. And then I realized that it's good, but it doesn't do what I needed to do. I just, when I mixed it with this track, it had everything that I wanted. So then I just added, like, for example, a distorted rim shot with the reverb every second or whatever. And then it's like, yeah, that's the final track. And then I've lost like history, so I cannot go back. Then, so if somebody then says, I want to release this, I want to send it to mastering. Cool, this is what you have. And I mean, of course, if you're, I always say it like, either you're an artist or you're a consultant. As a consultant, you should be able to deliver what the customer wants to have if you're doing like commercial music for the TV commercials or something like that you need to be able to go back and forth and you have a customer paying for your time. Of course you need to treat them professionally. But at the same time I'm an artist, so I'm free to do whatever I want. I can just play noise for 10 hours.
If that's what you
Nobody will come next time, but I'm free to do it. And I can make my tracks, you're supposed to have transients, you're supposed to have hi-hats, but I could just not do that. I can choose just to make a very dull mix, because that may be really nice to have in the middle of a busy set. So maybe for me it has a position in my world. So it's kind of always a dabble between those, I think. To do like a proper production and to do something which is still art. I have like...
You have pretty much everything.
I have some instruments. But I've been fortunate enough to be able to keep the stuff that I've been buying over the years. So I've been really like clinging. I've sold, of course, some things which has just been pointless for me or that I've grown out of or tired of. But most part if I made a track with it, that's kind of my rule. If I made a track with it, I keep it. Because then it has a sound that was relevant for me. So if I want to go back, I have it. So it's kind of in iterations that, like for example right now, I'm using the 909 very much. And that has been a period where I did not like it at all. I just found that everything I made was done and it felt that it didn't sound the way I wanted it. It was just like every time that I started to work with it, it was like, no, it's not the way I want to go. Then I used 808 or I did something else, but or I used samples that I made earlier or whatever. So I always have this rule that I want to have one strong idea per track and not to deviate from like say a heavy bass line going into a big pad thing, going into a percussion break, going into... I think that then you can make 3 tracks instead. You should, if the pad is that strong that you can really build that intention, and that's kind of also the thing. I see it more as a design process rather than making music sometimes. You design a moment on the dance floor. When I have an uplifting moment, do I want to have a trippy moment? Do I want to have a tool just grooving? Do I want to be in the beginning of a night? Do I want to be in the end? Do I want to fill the complete spectrum and just train wreck through the dance floor, like all frequencies full on? Or do I want to be, so setting that kind of intention, that kind of describes where I'm supposed to do, and that's kind of where my rights or wrong go. Then what can I decide, like, this is doing that part of a night for me.
It's actually interesting what you said, because to look at making a track for a set rather than just making a track just for the track. To think where it might fit in the overall structure of a night, of how you want to play or where you're playing or whatever. It's a very interesting way of thinking.
Since now kind of, even though the vinyl is back, it's still very small, of course, but to me I've been also going back and forth trying new setups, going away from Traktor, for example. Not that it's bad in any way, it's fantastic. It's so much what it does to me and how I approach music, which is interesting to me. I think that the way they made music back then made sense because they had the vinyl, and I think that comes back because so many people are playing vinyl and being really enthusiastic about that approach. So they want that kind of reliability. As I said, one idea that you introduce in the beginning that can evolve, but in a kind of, you can imagine how it's going to evolve, but not going off crazy, doing something crazy that you introduce a big pad after the break, which you, oh fuck this, I can't mix now, it's out of key. Wow. So I would say that in that sense, back then you maybe not had a choice. Today you have the choice to do the 90s sound, and to me it's very close to my heart. Because it's also, I mean, it's very minimal, it's very pure. The stuff Robert Hood did back then is still very relevant to me as how little you need to get people moving.
I think another interesting thing about actually using hardware versus software, I mean, like for me, is when you record it, that recording is yours. You know, it's coming out of a machine, but the way you record it, the wires you're using, maybe you're using really crappy cables, so it's giving you some dirt. Maybe your mixer has got faulty knobs and it's got like
adds to the
character of the sound, you know. So it then becomes your original recording. It's the piece you recorded. Maybe it's the same sound everybody's used, but in a way it becomes yours, you know.
Which is minute setting.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and also one thing, it's not that artistic in a way, but it's like bringing up a 10-year-old project in Cubase, which I use. If you're having VSTs, you can be certain that you don't have those anymore. So it's like missing, and then you hear like that's what's left. It's like those 4 samples that you had. All the bass lines and everything is just MIDI tracks with no sound. And that's like, oh, I just wanted to have that once more, and I can't because it's gone. I can't get those in today's operating systems, etc. But as with recordings, the WAV files,
audio,
those are there. I mean, I can bring up old projects that are recorded as WAV files.
Absolutely,
So that's actually like a really pro tip, I would say, to some part when you're feeling like, now I'm doing the stereo export, I finalize, so this is going to mastering or whatever. Stop just for 10 minutes, just solo the key tracks, not like a hi-hats that goes on for 7 minutes, that you don't need maybe. But like the bass line, the leads or whatever, just bounce them as separate files. You won't regret it. Maybe just do a sample sometime from that, or going back doing a remix.
Absolutely.
What if that turns out to be a biggest hit? And Arturia went out of business 5 years ago, and you don't have any updates or whatever. The first releases were not meant to be released. I mean, I just before I was part of the duo Hertz, and then it was very much intentional music. We made A-side tracks, and to me they were kind of overcomplicated in the end. I mean, from the beginning it was very fun, but in the end it became like more pop music to me, in the way it was made to fit a label rather than a spot in the night for me. So when you played them, it was like, okay, this is 6 minutes where I don't need to add anything, because it's like full spectrum blowout, and I just need to like do as a trance DJ, wait 6 minutes and then mix in the end. No offense taken on.
You like to really work it.
I like to work it. So then I just started to make tracks for me to, I mean, just as I said, like risers and stuff, which is like just building blocks that I can see like, oh, you guys, you need that. I can bring you that. I need just some percussion. I just need that bongo loop. And as you said, if you don't like arranging, then don't arrange. I mean, if you don't need arranging because you just want to have like that groove, just be done with it. So that was exactly what I did, and those tracks kind of ended up working better than everything else for me.
So so the next Bond comes out soon, right?
It came out
next month.
No, Friday last week.
Oh, Friday last week it's out. Yes. Okay, but that's only on vinyl, not digital.
Yeah, exactly. Now only vinyl 1 month, and then
digital after.
Digital after that.
Yeah, unfortunately for us, getting vinyl here is impossible. So.
Yeah, but I brought it from Sweden directly here. So but it's at my hotel room.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome. But I still play like the roots and the drama. I play like the 2 and the 3 or 4 drama. I play a lot. So
I mean, that also comes to prove kind of the thing that's also been very much my thing. I mean the thing that Kraftwerk kind of put a sentence for, like unmusical music. they are kind of like autobahn thing, where just like it's a journey rather than a musical piece where you play like chorus and verse and stuff like that. And to me, it's more like the way the sound hits you. I mean, I usually joke about it that I played C minor for 20 years now, and it's still working. And you can do it in so many different ways. You can play C minor on a TB303, you can play it on a Moog, you can. But yeah, I like C minor. But I mean, that's always the way the sound hits you, and all the drummers and everything. It's just like it's very easy programming. It's nothing unique about it. It's the only thing that's, as you said, is the recording. Yeah. That's unique. I mean, the 909 with offbeat open hi-hat is nothing unique, but the way it hits you, that's unique. I think it's being hard on yourself. I mean, kill your darlings. Yeah. I mean, I usually always comes up with sidetracks, especially when I was in the beginning. It's so easy just to get sidetracked on a preset, for example, in a synth, that you just, oh, this is cool, and then you mute your initial very basic loop that you had going on, and you make this elaborate track instead. So I think it's just like, okay, with the computer is awesome, you can just save a version, leave it for later, and if you feel like you need to do that synth line, do it, but not right now. Just keep it, or I mean, just scrap the first idea and go completely in the other direction, not trying to like squish too much into it. So I think it's really like, yeah, and I think that's also like a thing that you mature into, that you know that this simplicity worked before. I want to play this simple idea, so I will cling on to it because I want this with me this weekend when I'm in India. So I made a couple of tracks just for this purpose, and I was like, I don't need to release them as they are right now, but I want to bring them just because I believe in this idea and I believe in the funky attitude or whatever they had. Yeah. So it's just like, yeah, extending that idea onto something that I can actually bring in and out of a mix, and as a starting point, doing that rather than trying to arrange like the intro, outro, big breaks and everything. Skip the break if it has no meaning or purpose for your idea. Yeah. Don't have it. Or I know Johan Bachto was an old Swedish guy that was very productive in the end of the 90s. One way father to many big techno artists in Sweden. He just had that, if it's good, why keep it? I mean, just introduce it from the beginning, just like bang, first like, I mean, and he was playing vinyl and he had like this box of white labels that he had no idea what it was. He just got white labels, they put it in the box, and when he got fully removed one, and then he just started with 3 decks. He was so technically skilled. He was putting one on, and yeah, the next, and that was the magic box set. So he just pulled up, and then he just wanted to know that, yeah, this is cool, this has a big drum, or this has a big, okay, that, as in, I mean,
it just comes in.
Yeah, and that's the way so we're talking about medium. Yeah. You want that introduction, you don't want a big pad exploration going into a beat, introducing a hi-hat. No, that's something else. That's, then you need to know your music, that's a completely different thing. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just like, for me and for that kind of situation, it was just like so right on that if it's good, just bring it in from the beginning, and then I can bring out the bass whenever I need, or do a backspin, or do some reverb, and then bring it back.
Leave it for the performance angle, leave space for that.
Exactly. So sometimes it's just like, get that out and try it, and if it works, it works. I mean, sometimes I just, as I said, some of the drummers have not been released because, they maybe not had a way of making it into a track, but they are still maybe pieces that I play out sometimes, but they have no like meaning to be released in that sense.
Yeah, that was very inspiring. At least I'm very inspired. It's really good. I mean, I think your approach is so different, and that's why I feel it stands out so much. So thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, thank you for having you on the school.
Yeah.